Hey guys, what is going on? It is Sunday evening. We just wrapped up the 3M Open. Getting this out a little later than maybe I was hoping. Actually, had a kid's birthday party today. So my son Austin just turned 1, so I had a little thing for him. So got to sweat some golf with the family today. So that was fun. Ultimately, though, unfortunately, came up just short again. So man, we had a good run at this thing. If we just want to look at the leaderboard for the 3M Open, so basically, long story short, Cam Champ ended up shooting a final round 66, flying up the leaderboard, taking this thing down. He gave us some hope there at the end by basically going with a driver off the tee on 18 with a 2-shot lead, and ended up hooking it left into the crap, and ultimately found a way to save par on it. So we had hope for a second that maybe he'd drop back to, maybe double bogey, drop back to 13, into a playoff with a couple of these other guys in the chase pack. So ultimately, Johnny Vegas came up a little bit short. He was the guy that came up, again, of all the guys in the betting card, ended up finishing the best. Shot a final round 68. Again, he had a 20-footer for eagle on 18, and basically missed his par putt on 17 by about an inch. So he gave it a run both times. So if he would have made both of those putts, he would have been in there at 15. But just wasn't our week. So this is 2 weeks in a row now that we've touted guys that have finished second. So close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, not in outright betting. We talked about Louis, though, on Saturday. There's a guy that was leading the field in ball striking, guy that was primed to make a run, and he did just that, and especially true today, shooting a final round 66. So good for Louis. Guy rated out, I think he was number 1 on my model entering the week. I just didn't think that he had a shot with this, coming off the Open Championship collapse. But he played really well, so maybe lean into the model. Don't get too cute. But he was I think, a totally viable live bet over the weekend, and proved that out. So good for you, Louis. Again, coming up short. Maybe we look smart, but not that smart, I guess. We did have a couple other guys in the mix, but they just didn't do anything today. So Gary Woodland shot 1 over. Mav McNeely shot 2 over. Cam Tringali just completely fell apart today. So he was actually our 54-hole leader entering this Sunday. Just couldn't get it done. Pat Perez, shot a final round 71. So these guys just could not get it going today. The only one that really gave us any hope was Johnny Vegas. So, disappointing to say the least. So again, that's back-to-back weeks hitting guys, basically finishing second. But again, second doesn't pay anything. So we're on to the next one. And honestly, this is going to be a really late week for me. So we have the Olympics coming up. So there's no PGA Tour event this week. So basically, things kick off a little bit earlier this week. I think things lock on Wednesday evening, so we get some primetime golf, so that's kind of exciting. That's about it, because it's a smaller field. We don't have a lot of data to work with going into this, so it'll be a lighter week for yours truly. So probably just make a couple bets, may even take some shots on the women's event, just for fun. So I'm not taking this nearly as seriously as maybe I would kind of a normal event, but we'll still lead into the stats, see what they can tell us, hopefully find something here for the Olympics. So definitely, it's going to be interesting. I'm excited to sweat golf in the evening. I think that'll be really nice, but that's about it. The quality of the field is pretty weak outside of the top guys. We also lost DJ and Rom, so both of them tested positive for COVID. So it's going to be even more of a crapshoot this week. So anyway, going to do a little bit of a preview now. We can look at some of the stats, look at some of the odds. I do a little bit of a course breakdown, and then I'll probably do an update video on Tuesday with a little bit more of a model for this, and basically where I'm going to land with my card for the Olympics this week. So 3M Open was not as good to me as it was the last 2 years, but we came close. So we'll close the book on that and jump into the Olympics. So Over in Tokyo, we have our Olympic golf event being played at, it's going to take me a long time to learn how to say this, Kasumi Gazeki Country Club. So from the looks of it, I'll put the link to this in the video. So basically on their website, you can tour the course. You can do kind of a hole-by-hole layout. Looks pretty flat. It's pretty long. I think these guys are going to rip this thing apart. So I think it's going to be somewhere around minus 15, minus 20. Again, nothing really to go on there from a data perspective, but just from the looks of this, it's not like a link style. There's nothing to say that these guys can't do it. It's pretty long and flat. So basically, par 71, about 7,500 yards. So that's the length coming into play. We do have bent grass greens, so we'll look at that from a putting split perspective. But if you just kind of flip through the whole breakdown, it's pretty long, pretty flat. You don't get a whole lot. Again, the fairways are a little bit narrow, but I'm pretty sure if you can bomb it, that gives you a pretty significant advantage. Some of these par fives are a little bit longer. I think they're over 2 of the 3 are over 600 yards. So I think even if you do have some distance, yes, that gives you an advantage, but I think long irons are also going to be important this week too. So it's really, for me, going to be the combination of those two things. I'm not going to get too cute. I think, again, it's a limited field. There's going to be some randomness to this for sure, but at the end of the day, I think guys with distance, guys with good long irons are going to be the ones that rise to the top, and hopefully we can find a guy who can make some putts on bent grass that can get into the mix for a medal. So again, I think instead of top 5 betting, I think you can bet for, well, you can still do that. You can also bet in terms of just placement, medal or not. You can bet on, obviously, if the winner. So not sure exactly how I'm going to attack the betting card yet, but my plan is probably just to grab like maybe 2 guys, maybe do a parlay on the women's side and call it a week. Maybe a couple things that I do want to keep an eye on that I really want to root for with respect to a couple guys. But outside of that, going to keep it pretty light since we don't have a whole lot to work with and there's not really a whole lot to say about this course. I will say Hideki, I think, is the only one in the field who has actually seen it before, and he won an event in 2009 here, I think. So that is basically the extent of the course history perspective that you're going to get this week. I don't think anyone else has seen it outside of maybe some of the lower tier guys in this field. So anyway, that is Kasumi Gazeki Country Club. You can do some hole by hole flyovers. You can get a look at the kind of scorecard, how things shake out. But yeah, it's pretty long, pretty straight, narrow fairways, distance off the tee, long irons. That's the key. So if we jump over to the betting odds, again, I mentioned that 2 of the top guys in the field actually tested positive for COVID, so they can't play. So John Rahm tested positive again for COVID. So don't really understand that, but we'll save that maybe for another podcast. So he's not playing, but then Bryson was the surprise yesterday, so he's out this week. So basically everyone's odds have jumped up. So we're not getting certainly not a discount on anybody this week. So Colin Morikawa is your betting favorite. He's 6.5 to 1. Xander's right behind him. Then we got a couple guys, Victor Hovland and Justin Thomas. And honestly, like, these 2 guys may be it for me, just based on some early lean. So more to come in terms of the why, but hopefully no one else drops out, or else, we're going to be really paying a premium here. But Hovland and JT at 11 to 1. Rory and Paul Casey at 12 to 1. Hideki at 12. Patrick Reed is the guy replacing Bryson. He actually plays really well in these international competitions. So, again, I don't know, kind of a late ad, not getting as much prep time as everybody else. That'd be the only kind of red flag. We'll look at the stats too, but something to watch out with Patrick Reed because he just finished the 3M Open. Now he's heading overseas, not expecting to have to do this, but he's definitely taken on the honor of playing for the US of A. So good for him rising to the occasion. I'm pretty sure they had to offer it to at least Brooks, and I believe Patrick Cantlay too. I think they're the 2 guys in the world rankings ahead of Patrick Reed, and I'm assuming they declined. So we're getting Patrick Reed instead of Bryson. Abe Answer is 18 to 1. Then you get some interesting names here in the 20 to 1 or so range. guys like Corey Connors, Sanjay, Fleetwood. I mean, Corey Connors' ball striking is probably good enough to play really well here, so he could be interesting as a flyer down the board, but I don't know. I'm not really that... I have no strong takes right now on any of these guys. The data is going to tell you ball strikers and guys like JT and Hovland and Corey Connors, but I don't know. There's something else, that we got to maybe think about with this too. Again, I don't think DraftKings Fantasy is available where I am, so we could definitely look at some of the pricing. We can look at the model and kind of talk about some guys maybe where you're located. You can dive into that, but it is apparently not available here in Pennsylvania, so I won't be doing any DraftKings lineups this week. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know, but the way things have been going. But yeah, we'll see what we want to do with that once we run some of the stats in the model. But yeah, guys further down the board, I don't know if any of these guys actually have a chance to win, but kind of an interesting maybe top 10 for some of these guys down the board. So, there's a whole bunch of guys that I've never even heard of in here playing for their country. So, yeah, that's about all I have to say about the odds board. If we jump over to the women's side of things, we don't talk about this side of things a whole lot, but Nelly Korda is obviously the favorite. She's been fantastic of late. No surprise to me there. This could be an opportunity to dive a little bit closer into this. I know the PGA Tour, or the LPGA Tour, actually started collecting essentially strokes gain data for the women's side of things. So that's super exciting. If there's something that we can glean on there, that might be cool. So maybe we'll try and do that, use this as an exploratory kind of exercise into that side of things. And again, like maybe the women's side's a little bit more wide open, but I don't think you're probably taking anyone longer than, maybe 30-1 if you're looking at anyone here. And honestly, like to add some juice to some of these guys, like I think it's a totally viable thing this week to parlay some folks together, like do a, as an example, JT Nelly Korda parlay. We can just kind of cue that up and see what this looks like. I think it'll be like 35-1 or so. Is that right? It's 83-1. Really? Yeah. Okay. So I was wrong. All right. Cool. So maybe we could do something like that. Parlay some of these things together and try and hit a big one that way. More to come on that later this week once I kind of poke around with it a little bit. If we jump over to our favorite tool, Fantasy National, just again looking at like the last 24 rounds or so. How are guys shaking out? There's no model here yet, but in terms of approach play, no surprise to see Colin Morikawa is number 1, Paul Casey number 2, Rory is actually number 3 over the last 24 rounds, which is really interesting because this could be a setup for him then, right? So what I did want to look at though, proximity with the long iron. So guys in this like 175 to 200 plus range. So if we start, maybe at the 200 plus range, Leishman's actually number 1 over the last 24 rounds. So that's really interesting to me. Paul Casey number 2. He's actually really good across kind of the most likely key distances this week. So Paul Casey could be an interesting bet. Hovland, really good with the long irons, really good off the tee. So that's why I like him a lot. And I'm pretty sure that one Justin Thomas, which one is it? Where's JT? Yeah, he's been pretty solid. So he's 10th in 200 plus, little lax in the 175 to 200, 150 to 175 he's 16th. I just kind of want to root for JT this week, so maybe that's a little bit of bias coming into play, for sure. I know he's super pumped up about playing for Team USA at this Olympics, so I think motivation is important. Rory talked about it like it wasn't that big of a deal. He's not super patriotic, so maybe just going over there, checking the box. But like I think JT is actually really fired up about this, and he plays really well in international events, so that's why I like him kind of a lot this week. And the stats certainly back that up a little bit. So let's see, maybe one last thing from a Fantasy National perspective. We can maybe look at strokes gained putting on bent grass over the last 50 rounds, just see who shakes out as the top guys in this field from that perspective. So no surprise, Mackenzie Hughes, the god of putting. Alex Noren's actually number 2. That's kind of interesting. Xander's number 3, Answer number 4. So maybe Answer's a good play this week too. Maybe for like a top 10. I don't know what the odds were on it, but maybe just jumping back to the men's side of things. Answer is plus 140 for a top 10. I don't know that I love that, so I don't know. Well, this is why I'm not really a huge fan of this from a betting perspective, so we'll probably just keep it super simple this week. So anyway, that's a quick preview for me in terms of the Olympics. Quick recap of the 3M Open. Again, sad to see that we came up short, but we had a lot of guys in the mix. I had a lot of fun with it. Certainly a lot of dudes hitting the water on 18 yesterday at the 3M. That was kind of fun for me. I just kind of enjoyed that. So unfortunately, it was a lot of my guys. But anyway, we had a mildly successful week just in terms of pegging the model last week, and we'll see if we can carry some of that into the Olympics and try and find the gold medal winner. So as always, if you like the content, give it a like. If you like the video, if you please subscribe to my page. I think we're trying to grow this thing as much as possible. Hopefully maybe the Olympics give us an opportunity to do that with some casual folks jumping in. But so more to come for me on Tuesday to give you guys at least a day with this to marinate on things, do your own research. But if you tailed any of this last week, hopefully you had a good sweat with me, and hopefully we get another one this week. Primetime golf for the Olympics. So thanks as always, guys, and we will talk soon.